Hey everyone, you asked for it and here's the continuation. Before we start, tell me in the comments, what do you imagine will happen in this second part? And keep sharing your personal stories. I'm reading them all and some really deserve to become videos. It was Christmas Eve when everything fell apart. Lucas had developed a routine. He finished work at the shop, went home to shower and dress better, and then went to Isabella's house. They no longer needed the excuse of deliveries. She had given him the gate password, and he visited her almost every day. That afternoon, Lucas was particularly excited. He had used his savings to buy a simple gift for Isabella, a keychain shaped like a pizza slice that he had found in a small shop downtown. It wasn't anything luxurious, but it had special meaning. It represented the moment they met. When he arrived at the mansion, however, he found unusual activity. There were imported cars parked at the entrance, and through the windows he could see elegantly dressed people circulating through the house. Lucas rang the doorbell, but it wasn't Isabella who answered. It was an older woman with a stern appearance, wearing an expensive suit. "You must be the delivery guy," she said, with evident disdain in her voice. "Isabella is busy at the moment. Leave whatever you brought and I'll pay." "Actually, I didn't bring any delivery," said Lucas. "I'm Lucas, Isabella's friend. She's expecting me." The woman looked him up and down, analyzing his simple clothes and old bicycle. "Friend," she repeated with a sarcastic smile. "Young man, I'm Margaret Vasconcelos, the Montero family's lawyer. And I guarantee that Isabella doesn't have friends like you." Lucas felt his blood boil. "You don't know me well enough to talk like that." "I know exactly who you are," Margaret replied. "An opportunist who discovered a rich, lonely girl and decided to take advantage of the situation. You're not the first, boy." At that moment, Isabella appeared at the door. She was wearing an elegant black dress, impeccable makeup, hair pulled back in a sophisticated bun. She looked like a completely different person from the vulnerable young woman Lucas had met. "Lucas," she said, with an expression of surprise and embarrassment. "Hi, Isabella. Sorry to show up at the wrong time, but you said we could meet today." Margaret interrupted. "Isabella, dear, do you know this young man?" There was tense silence. Isabella looked at Lucas, then at Margaret, then at the elegant people who began approaching the door, curious about the commotion. He makes deliveries here sometimes," said Isabella, avoiding Lucas's gaze. Lucas felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. After weeks of intimate conversations, shared laughter, moments when he felt he really knew her, Isabella had just reduced him to merely the delivery guy. "Isabella," he said, with a trembling voice, "can we talk privately?" "Now isn't a good time, Lucas. I'm busy." Margaret smiled with satisfaction. "As I said, young man, Isabella has important commitments, people of her own social level." Lucas looked at Isabella once more, hoping she would say something, defend him, show that the moments they had shared meant something to her. But Isabella remained silent, looking at the floor. "I understand," said Lucas with a cold voice. "Sorry for bothering you." He took the small package from his pocket, the pizza keychain he had bought for her, and left it on the table next to the door. "Merry Christmas, Isabella." And he left, feeling the disdainful looks of the elegant people as he mounted his old bicycle. Isabella picked up the package with trembling hands after Lucas left. When she saw the simple keychain, with a handwritten card saying, "Merry Christmas to the most special person I've ever met," she felt her heart break. "What a pathetic drama," Margaret commented. "I warned you this could happen. People like him always try to take advantage of people like you." Isabella closed her eyes, fighting back tears. During the following days, Lucas threw himself into work. He took extra shifts at the shop, made deliveries until late hours, anything to avoid thinking about Isabella. But it was impossible. Every time he saw a pizza, every time he passed Acacia Street, every time he heard a romantic song on the radio, he thought of her. What hurt most wasn't the fact that she was rich and he was poor. What hurt was the feeling that everything had been a lie. That maybe she really was just having fun with him, passing time until something better came along. Isabella, meanwhile, was destroyed. After that night, she had tried to return to her normal life, business meetings, social events, dinners with suitable people. But nothing made sense. She found herself looking at the pizza keychain she kept in her bedside table drawer, remembering the laughter she had shared with Lucas, the sincere conversations, how he made her feel like a normal person. A week after Christmas, Isabella couldn't stand it anymore. She called the pizzeria. "Hello, Tony's Pizzeria. Hi, I'd like to place an order for delivery." "Sure. What pizza would you like?" "One large margarita. To Acacia Street, 247. "Perfect. It'll be there in 40 minutes. Isabella waited anxiously. When the doorbell rang, she ran to the door, her heart beating fast. But who was there wasn't Lucas. It was a young boy, about 16 years old, whom she had never seen. Margarita pizza for Isabella? Where is Lucas? The boy looked confused. Lucas? Oh, Lucas doesn't work here anymore. He quit last week. Isabella felt the world spin around her. He quit? Why? I don't know. Mr. Tony said he got a better job in another city. Another city. Lucas had left. Isabella paid for the pizza she had no appetite to eat and closed the door, sliding down it until she sat on the cold marble floor. She had lost the only person who had loved her for who she really was. But fate still had plans for them. 3 months later, Isabella was driving through the city when her imported car broke down on a busy avenue. She called insurance, but the tow truck would take 2 hours to arrive. Frustrated and late for an important meeting, she saw a sign, Silva's Garage, Engine and Heart. She decided to go in to see if they could at least quickly diagnose the problem. When she pushed open the door of the small garage, the smell of oil and metal hit her. It was a completely different environment from the luxurious world she was used to, but not an uncomfortable environment. "Good afternoon. Can I help you?" Isabella turned around and her heart stopped. There was Lucas, wearing overalls dirty with grease, his hair a little longer, but with the same gentle smile she remembered. The difference was that now there was something more in his eyes, a confidence, a determination that wasn't there before. "Lucas," she whispered. He recognized her immediately, and for a moment neither knew what to say. "Isabella," he said finally, wiping his hands on a rag. "What are you doing here?" "My car broke down out front. I didn't know you." "That I had a garage." Lucas smiled, but there was a coldness in his voice that Isabella had never heard before. "Well, I did. I managed to save enough money to open my own business. Small, but it's mine." Isabella looked around. The garage was really small, but it was impeccably organized. There were plants in some corners, a radio playing soft music, and a feeling that this place was built with love and dedication. "Lucas, I need to explain about that night." "You don't need to," he interrupted. "I understood perfectly. You were having fun with the poor pizza delivery guy until your important friends showed up." "It wasn't like that." "It wasn't? Then how was it, Isabella?" "Because from my point of view, you introduced me as the delivery guy and stayed silent while that woman humiliated me." Isabella felt tears beginning to form in her eyes. "I was scared," she exclaimed. "I was scared of what they would think, what they would say. Margaret always told me that people like you only approached me out of interest." "People like me?" Lucas repeated, with bitterness. "You know what hurt me most that night, Isabella? It wasn't your lawyer's disdain. It was realizing that deep down, you agreed with her." "That's not true." "Isn't it? Then why didn't you defend me? Why didn't you say we were friends? Why didn't you? Because I was in love with you, Isabella shouted, tears now flowing freely down her face. And I was afraid that if I admitted that publicly, you'd find out I was just a rich, spoiled girl who knew nothing about the real world. The silence that followed was deafening. Lucas looked at her for a long moment, processing what she had just admitted. You were in love with me, he said slowly. I am, Isabella corrected. I am in love with you. And losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Lucas sighed deeply and sat in an old chair. Isabella, do you know what the difference between us is? She shook her head. When I fell in love with you, I didn't care that you were rich. I fell in love with the person who cried alone on her birthday, who laughed at my bad jokes, who stayed up late talking about dreams. When you fell in love with me, you were ashamed. I wasn't ashamed of you. You were, yes. And you know what? That made me realize that maybe I'm worth more than I thought. Isabella approached him. You're worth much more than you think. You're the most genuine, hard-working, kindest person I've ever met. And I was a coward. Lucas looked into her eyes, seeing the sincerity and regret. What do you want from me, Isabella? A second chance, she said without hesitation. A chance to prove I can be brave enough to love you publicly. A chance to show that I don't care what others will think. And how do you intend to do that? Isabella took a deep breath. Marry me. Lucas almost fell off his chair. What? Marry me. Here, in front of everyone. A simple wedding, but public. I want everyone to know that I chose you, that I love you, and that I don't care about social differences. Lucas looked at her incredulously. Isabella, are you serious? I've never been more serious in my life. They got married 2 months later, in a ceremony that made headlines in all the city's newspapers. The billionaire heiress who married the owner of a small mechanic shop. Many high society people were scandalized. Margaret, the lawyer, predicted disaster. But Isabella didn't care about any criticism. On the wedding day, she wore a simple dress from a downtown store and arrived at the church by bicycle, the same bicycle Lucas used to deliver pizzas. 5 years later, they're still married and more in love than ever. Isabella learned to work in the garage alongside Lucas, getting her hands dirty with grease and discovering a satisfaction in physical work she had never experienced. Lucas, in turn, helped Isabella use her inheritance meaningfully, creating microcredit programs for small entrepreneurs. Silva's garage engine and heart became one of the most respected in the city, not just for quality services, but for the warm way the owners treat each customer. And to this day, every Friday night, they order a margarita pizza and eat it sitting on the living room floor, remembering the rainy night when fate made them meet through a wrong address that, in the end, was absolutely right. Isabella still keeps that pizza keychain on her bedside table. And Lucas never forgot the most important lesson he learned. Sometimes, life's best gifts arrive when we least expect them, disguised as mistakes or accidents. Lucas's mother recovered completely and now lives in a comfortable house the couple bought for her, just a few meters from the garage. She always says it was the rain that Friday night that brought the blessing to the family. And who knows? Maybe she's right. So what did you think of this love story, everyone? Do you believe in the power of destiny or think it was just coincidence? Tell me in the comments how you met the love of your life, or if you're still looking. And don't forget, send me your personal stories, family stories, situations that changed your lives. Each story is unique and special, and I'd love to be able to share some here on the channel. Thanks for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.